All right, so we finished our discussion about the soft side of the application of the impulse momentum theorem. Now we're going to talk about follow-through. Okay, now when we talk about following through, this is, do I have any soccer players? No soccer players. Okay. Tennis players. Okay, I got a couple tennis players. Golfers. Okay, a little bit. Hopefully some of you are going, okay, I may not play it, but I've seen it before. And if somebody thinks of an additional example compared to what we're going to talk about here, please bring it up. Okay, now I'm going to start with, baseball. Any baseball? My God, do you guys play any sports? Okay, give me a sport, Levi.
Volleyball.
Okay, all right, another one?
Basketball.
Okay, basketball. That one might be a little bit harder to apply on this one. No other sports? Okay, Gage.
Track.
Okay. We might be able to twist it here. Maybe not as good as some of these other ones, though. So, hopefully, you guys have watched some sports. So as I talk about this, you'll go, "Oh yeah, I get what you're talking about." When we talked about the idea of soft, we had an object that it was going to be brought to rest, and that's it. The question was, how was it going to be brought to rest? Very quickly or very slowly? In which case the force was either large or small. Now with follow-through, we approach this the other way. The follow-through is associated with the agent, and the idea is that the agent is going to act on an object and somehow change its momentum. So now, the best examples that I'm aware of are in the sports world. Yes. So I am going to go to golf first. All right? Okay? So, you're golfing. You are on the tee. It's a 500-yard hole. So what is your goal on your drive? Come on. Somebody's watched golf before, right? If it's a 500-yard hole and you're teeing off, what is your goal?
Make it to the putting green.
Okay, now, I guess we got to instill a little bit of reality here. Is there a golfer on this planet that can get 500 yards to get to the green on the first hit? No. No, not even Tiger Woods could do this in his prime. But you want to try and get it as far as you can. Okay? Now, if you needed to get that drive as far as you can, what would most people tell you about your swing? Okay, there's a follow through. Now, in what aspect does someone who's hitting a drive follow through?
The arcing motion of their swing continues even though they.
Okay, so, and I am not a good golfer, and I'll go ahead and this is really silly to be using a meter stick for this, but the idea is that the golfer will bring the club all the way back, and they will swing all the way through, and that complete process is our idea of them following through. Now, in addition to that, nobody has ever golfed here? Okay, you've hit a golf ball before? Do you always hit a golf ball the same?
Never.
No. And not just because, you're not perfect. It's because strategically speaking, you don't always want to hit it the same. But on a drive, how do you want to hit it in terms of a force?
Very hard.
You want this, I'm going to erase this now. With golf, you want F to be big. By following through, what do you do with the time that the club head is in contact with the ball? You can show me with the finger if you get it. Any thoughts? Come on.
We want to make the time as small as possible.
Not this time, though. Now, most people will say, doesn't the club head stay in contact, not a long time with the ball? I will agree with you in most people's measurement of time. Yeah, it's pretty quick. But imagine I'm the golfer, and I'm up here, and when I come down, I stop the club head right as it touches the ball. So I just come down and do this. How long is that going to stay in contact compared to if we swing all the way through, even though by the time I'm right here, the ball is kind of sent on its way. I have a decent amount of momentum in the club head, so I'm just going to kind of let that kind of go through here. But the idea is that by following through when you hit something, you increase this so it gets bigger. Now, if you got these two and you're maxing them out, that means this side of the equation is going to be big. But remember, this refers to the object. So in the case of a drive off the tee, by doing this here, what are you going to get a lot of on this side? You could say momentum, but specifically, what are you going to get that you want to make the ball go far? Velocity. Because the ball initially, I'm going to see if I could. What is its initial velocity if you're on the tee? You're at 0 meters per second. Once the ball is hit, if you can make a bigger impulse, if this is going to be 0, that means if this side gets bigger, the only way that this can match it is if that velocity factor gets bigger. So by swinging harder, you would say, I am bringing more impulse, and the desire for this is I get a large velocity out of the ball. Can somebody give me the opposite example of this from golf?
A putt.
A putt. What's the initial velocity of the ball when you go to putt it? What's the velocity of the ball all the time when you go to hit it in golf?
0.
It's 0. But in a putt, what is your F? In terms of relative sizing. Big or small? Now, do you follow through as extensively with a putt as you do with a drive?
No.
Not really. So what does that mean this tee is going to be compared to a drive?
Small.
It's going to be small. So now you get a small impulse. What is the consequence over on this side?
Lower velocity.
You get a small VF, and I'll just put, and it doesn't go as far, okay? Plus it's rolling on the ground, okay? So in terms of talking about follow through and how does this apply to sports, these are the two extremes on golf. And this is where, if I had somebody who golfed a lot, you would know you have all kinds of in-betweens based on how far you are away from the hole, maybe. You don't always do a complete swing like you do with a drive. Yeah. But usually you don't get any wimpier than a putt. Okay? All right, Jude, you play tennis. What's the drive equivalent in tennis?
I guess serving.
Serving, especially the first serve. You just want to blast that thing as hard as you can because what is it that you want to accomplish?
A point, get a point.
Right, but how do you do it if you hit it hard?
Well, it's harder for them to return it.
Because
It's faster.
it's faster and that gives them less time to react to try and hit the ball. What's this in tennis?
A volley.
Could be a volley, okay? Because if you've seen somebody volley in tennis, they usually don't swing all the way through it. They're usually, they might punch at it a little bit, but not excessively. And you ever do a drop shot?
I probably.
Okay. There is a tennis shot called a drop shot where you don't swing all the way through. You see somebody's way deep on the baseline, and you just try and dink it across and catch them, leaning the wrong way or expecting something the wrong way. A lot of times the idea of a drop shot and a volley can kind of go together. But the idea is you do not follow through because you don't want it to come fast off of that. Okay. Softball, baseball. Okay.
The drive equivalent would be like swinging for a home run,
Bingo.
and then
Hopefully you hit it.
and the putt equivalent would be bunting.
Perfect. Okay? Because you don't really swing through, you just kind of dink at it, and the idea is you don't want it to come off fast. Strategic. Soccer would be like really kicking it hard to try and send it far, or maybe try and hurry and get it past a goalie, whereas this other end of the spectrum would be just making kind of a softer pass, and you don't swing your leg quite as excessively through the ball. So anytime that people are talking to you about follow through, like to get something faster or slower, this is the physics that are at play. But the difference is when we talked about follow through, we controlled this as the input, and then because of that input, we got a desired velocity outcome from our object. Whereas when we talked about soft, the idea was this thing was kind of locked in place, and what we were trying to do was control the force to either be big or small. Especially if we want it to be soft, we're trying to control the force to be small, and that way we would choose materials very carefully so that they would extend the time of contact. And what most people would say is, oh, you mean it cushions. That whole idea of cushions is what we talked about on Friday. Okay. All right, I'm ending it there.